Dr. Jake Martinez wiped sweat from his forehead as he walked through the narrow halls of the horizon's edge. The ship was old, but reliable, just like most things humans built. It had been his home for 2 years now, ever since he left his job at the city hospital to join the space exploration program. Jake was not like other doctors who worked in fancy hospitals with clean white walls. He had worked in emergency rooms where gunshot victims came in bleeding and screaming. He had sewn up knife wounds in back alleys and fixed broken bones in war zones. Space was supposed to be different, quieter, but Jake had learned that trouble followed humans wherever they went. Captain Lisa Thompson's voice came over the ship's speakers. "All crew to stations. We have something big on the sensors." Jake grabbed his medical bag and headed to the bridge. The bag was simple leather, worn from years of use. Inside were basic tools: scissors, needles, thread, bandages, and bottles of medicine. Nothing fancy, nothing that needed electricity or computers to work. The bridge was small and cramped. Captain Thompson stood at the center, staring at the main screen. She was a tough woman who had worked her way up from being a simple pilot. Her crew trusted her because she never asked them to do anything she would not do herself. "What do we have, Captain?" Jake asked. Lieutenant Casey Brooks looked up from her station. She was young, maybe 25, with bright eyes that got excited about everything in space. "Doctor, you need to see this. It's incredible." On the screen was a ship unlike anything Jake had ever seen. It was huge, maybe 10 times the size of their vessel. But it did not look like metal and circuits, it looked alive. The surface moved and shifted like skin. Parts of it glowed with soft blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. "First contact," Captain Thompson said quietly. "After all these years of searching, we finally found them." Engineer Ryan Clark whistled from his station. "Look at that thing. It's beautiful. Like it grew instead of being built." The alien ship moved closer. It was graceful, flowing through space like a fish through water. Their own ship felt clunky and rough next to it. "Captain, they're sending a signal," Casey said. Her hands moved quickly over her controls. "It's not radio, it's something else. Like they're trying to talk directly to our computers." "Can you understand it?" Thompson asked. "Working on it. The computer is trying to translate." Casey paused, listening to something through her headphones. "Got it. They want to meet. They're asking permission to come aboard." Jake felt his heart beat faster. Aliens, real aliens, after all the movies and books and dreams, they were actually here. "Tell them yes," Captain Thompson said. "But just a small group, and tell them we're peaceful." 20 minutes later, they were all gathered in the cargo bay. It was the biggest space on their ship, but it still felt small. Security Officer Katie Sullivan stood near the door with her hand on her weapon. Not to fight, but just to be ready. Navigator Helen Garcia checked her tablet. "Their shuttle is docking now." The airlock hissed open. Jake held his breath. 3 beings walked through the door. They were tall, maybe 7 feet, with skin that looked like it was made of blue metal. They wore clothes that seemed to be alive, shifting and moving on their bodies. The one in front had decorations that looked like rank markers. "I am Commander Vextal," the leader said. His voice was strange, like music mixed with static. "We greet you, humans of Earth." Captain Thompson stepped forward. "Welcome aboard, Commander. I am Captain Lisa Thompson. This is my crew." The aliens looked around the cargo bay with what Jake thought might be curiosity. Their faces were hard to read, but they seemed interested in everything they saw. "Your vessel is very simple," Commander Vextal said, "but functional. We are impressed that you have traveled so far with such basic technology." Jake was not sure if that was an insult or a compliment. The meeting was going well. The aliens were polite and seemed genuinely interested in learning about humans. Commander Vextal explained that his people, the Zephyrians, had been watching Earth for some time. They were impressed by human determination and curiosity. Then everything went wrong. A loud bang echoed through the ship. The lights flickered. Emergency alarms started blaring. "What was that?" Captain Thompson shouted. Pilot Danny Wright's voice came over the speakers from the bridge. Engine explosion. We've lost power to the main systems. The ship shook violently. Jake grabbed onto a support beam to keep from falling. Pieces of metal and plastic flew through the air as panels exploded from the walls. Commander Vextal was not fast enough. A sharp piece of metal, about the size of a dinner plate, slammed into his chest. It cut right through his living suit and into his body. Blue liquid started pouring out of the wound. The other aliens rushed to their commander. They were making sounds that might have been their version of screaming. The blue liquid was everywhere, pooling on the floor. Jake dropped to his knees beside the injured alien. His training kicked in automatically. Bleeding meant pressure. Pressure meant stopping the flow. But as he reached for the wound, one of the other aliens pushed him back. "Do not touch him," the alien said. "We will handle this. Your primitive methods could kill him." Jake watched helplessly as the aliens activated devices that looked like magic. Holographic displays appeared in the air. Scanning beams swept over Commander Vextal's body. Complex machines materialized from their clothing. The blue liquid kept flowing. Commander Vextal's body was getting paler. His breathing was becoming weaker. Jake had seen this before, many times. Blood loss, trauma. Without quick action, the patient would die. But the aliens would not let him help. They were too busy setting up their advanced equipment to see that their commander was dying right in front of them. The cargo bay had turned into chaos. Blue liquid covered the floor like spilled paint. Commander Vextal lay still while his two companions worked frantically with their strange machines. Jake watched the alien's chest rise and fall, but each breath was weaker than the last. Chief Medical Officer Crinmoth was the taller of the two aliens helping Vextal. His hands moved over glowing panels that appeared in the air. Numbers and symbols flashed in colors Jake had never seen before. The alien doctor's movements were precise but slow, like he was following a complicated recipe. "How long will your treatment take?" Captain Thompson asked. Crinmoth did not look up from his work. 6 hours, maybe 7. We must scan every cell. Then we rebuild the damaged tissue layer by layer. It is very complex." Jake felt his stomach drop. 6 hours. He had seen people die from blood loss in 6 minutes. The blue liquid was still flowing from Commander Vextal's wounds, forming a growing pool beneath him. "He's losing too much blood," Jake said, stepping forward. "I mean, that blue stuff. Whatever it is." The second alien, who had not given his name, turned to face Jake. His expression was hard to read, but his voice sounded annoyed. "It is not blood. It is biofluid. Much more advanced than your simple red liquid, and we know how to treat our own people." Jake knelt down and opened his medical bag. The leather was old and cracked, but the tools inside were clean and sharp. He had used these same instruments to save dozens of lives. "Let me help. I can stop the bleeding while you set up your equipment." "No." Crinmoth's voice was sharp. "Your primitive tools will cause infection. Your methods are thousands of years behind ours. You could kill him." "He's already dying," Jake said quietly. He could see it in the way Commander Vextal's body was getting pale blue instead of the bright metallic color it had been before. "Look at him. Really look." Lieutenant Casey Brooks was standing near the wall, translating everything that was being said. Her face was pale with worry. "Dr. Martinez has saved a lot of people," she told the aliens. "Maybe he could help." The unnamed alien made a sound that might have been laughter. "Help? With what? Metal needles and plant fibers? We have bioregeneration chambers. We have molecular reconstructors. We have technology that can rebuild living tissue at the cellular level." Engineer Ryan Clark was watching from the doorway. "Then why isn't it working?" he asked. Everyone turned to look at the alien equipment. The holographic displays were flashing red. Error messages appeared in alien writing that scrolled too fast to read. The scanning beams kept stopping and starting. Again, Crinmoth's hands moved faster over his controls. "There is interference. Your ship's systems are too primitive. They are causing electromagnetic disruption." Pilot Danny Wright's voice came over the speakers. "Sorry about that. We're still trying to fix the damage from the explosion. Power keeps going up and down." Jake watched Commander Vextal's breathing get even weaker. The alien's eyes were closed now. His body was barely moving. How long has he been unconscious? 12 minutes, Navigator Helen Garcia said, checking her watch. 12 minutes. Jake had learned in medical school that the brain could only go so long without proper blood flow. He did not know if alien brains worked the same way, but he was not willing to find out. Listen, Jake said to Crinmoth. I understand your equipment is advanced, but right now it's not working. And your commander is dying while we wait. The equipment will work, Crinmoth insisted. We just need time to adjust for your ship's interference. Our medicine is far superior to anything your species has developed. Security Officer Katie Sullivan was still standing by the door. She looked at Captain Thompson with worried eyes. Captain, should we evacuate the area? Give them more space to work? Before Thompson could answer, Commander Vexital's body went completely still. The shallow breathing stopped. The slight movement of his chest disappeared. He's in cardiac arrest, Jake said, dropping to his knees beside the alien. His heart has stopped. The two alien doctors looked at their displays in panic. More red warnings appeared. The machines made sounds like sirens. This cannot happen, the unnamed alien said. The biofluid replacement system should maintain circulation automatically. Jake put his hands on Commander Vextel's chest. The alien skin felt strange, like warm metal, but he could feel the bone structure underneath. It was similar to human ribs. Where's his heart? You cannot touch him, Crinmoth shouted. Your hands carry bacteria. Your methods are unsanitary. Your methods aren't working, Jake shouted back. He started pressing on the alien's chest in a steady rhythm. It was basic CPR, something he had learned in his first year of medical school. Push hard, push fast, let the chest come back up, repeat. The alien doctors stared in horror. What are you doing? I'm pumping his heart manually, Jake said between compressions. It's called CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation. We've been doing it for hundreds of years. Lieutenant Casey Brooks translated quickly. The aliens made sounds of disgust. Barbaric, Crinmoth said. Primitive. You are damaging his internal structures. But something was happening. Commander Vextal's color was getting slightly better. The blue liquid had stopped flowing from his wounds as fast. Jake kept up the compressions, counting under his breath. Captain Thompson knelt down beside him. What do you need, Doctor? Time, Jake said. And maybe some luck. The alien equipment continued to flash and beep with errors. The bioregeneration chamber hummed, but would not activate. The molecular reconstructor kept shutting down and restarting. Commander Vextal's body remained still, except for the artificial circulation Jake was providing with his hands. The two alien doctors watched with a mixture of fascination and horror, as the human used nothing but physical force to keep their commander alive. Time was running out for everyone. Jake kept pressing on Commander Vextal's chest. His arms were getting tired, but he did not stop. 30 compressions. Then he tilted the alien's head back and breathed into his mouth. The taste was strange, like metal and electricity, but air went into the lungs. The two alien doctors were arguing in their own language. Their voices were high and musical, but Jake could tell they were upset. Their equipment kept making error sounds. Red lights flashed everywhere. How long can you keep doing that? Captain Thompson asked quietly. As long as I have to, Jake said between breaths. He went back to chest compressions. But we need to stop the bleeding soon, or this won't matter. Crinmoth was still working with his floating displays. The bioregeneration system will activate soon. We just need to recalibrate the molecular matrix and adjust for the electromagnetic interference from your primitive power systems. Jake looked at the pool of blue liquid growing larger on the floor. Commander Vextal had lost maybe 2 liters already. In a human, that would be life-threatening. He had no idea how much an alien could lose before it was too late. Your commander doesn't have time for calibration, Jake said firmly. He needs help now. The unnamed alien doctor made angry sounds. You do not understand our biology. Our methods are precise, scientific. Your crude techniques could cause permanent damage. He's already permanently damaged if he dies, Jake shot. Back Security Officer Katie Sullivan moved closer to the group. "Doctor, what do you need us to do?" Jake made a decision. He had been a trauma surgeon for 15 years. He had worked in emergency rooms where people came in dying and went home alive. He had sewn up wounds in conditions that would make these aliens faint. And he was not going to watch someone die because of pride and fancy equipment. "Katie, I need you and Ryan to create a distraction," Jake said quietly. "Get these alien doctors focused on something else for just a few minutes." Katie nodded. She understood. So did engineer Ryan Clark, who was standing near the door. "Hey," Ryan said loudly to the aliens. "Your ship out there is amazing. How does it fly without engines?" Crinmoth looked annoyed. "This is not the time for technical discussions." "But I'm an engineer," Ryan said, walking closer. "I've never seen anything like it. Is it really alive?" The unnamed alien doctor could not resist showing off. "Of course it is alive. We grow our ships from bioorganic compounds. They are superior to your metal constructions in every way." While the aliens were distracted, Jake opened his medical bag fully. Inside were tools that had not changed much in hundreds of years. Scissors, forceps, needle holders, and surgical thread. Simple tools that worked without electricity or computers. Navigator Helen Garcia saw what Jake was doing. She moved to block the alien's view of him. "So your whole ship is like one big living creature?" "Essentially, yes," Crinmoth said, getting excited despite the emergency. "The hull repairs itself. The propulsion system adapts to different environments. It is far beyond anything your species could imagine." Jake looked closely at Commander Vextal's wounds. The alien skin was different from human skin, but not as different as he had expected. There were blood vessels underneath carrying the blue biofluid. The cuts were clean, made by sharp metal. He had treated thousands of similar injuries. Working quickly and quietly, Jake cleaned the area around the largest wound. The alien's biofluid was thicker than human blood, but it responded to pressure the same way. When he pressed on the bleeding vessels, the flow slowed down. Pilot Danny Wright's voice came over the speakers. "Captain, the alien ship is sending us some kind of scan. Should I be worried?" "They are just monitoring their commander's condition," the unnamed alien said. "Our ship's medical systems are connected to his biosuit." Jake found the main bleeding vessel. It was about the size of a human artery, pulsing weakly with each heartbeat. He clamped it off with a simple metal clamp from his bag. The bleeding slowed dramatically. "Our biosuits monitor all vital functions," Crinmoth explained to the humans. "Heart rate, fluid levels, cellular damage. Everything is transmitted to our medical computers." Jake threaded a needle with surgical suture. You see, thread was basic nylon, nothing fancy. He had used the same type to close wounds on battlefields and in back alley clinics. His hands were steady despite the stress. Lieutenant Casey Brooks was still translating, but she was also watching Jake work. Her eyes were wide with amazement as she saw him stitch the alien vessel closed with quick, precise movements. "The biosuit also provides emergency medication," the unnamed alien continued. "It can inject painkillers, antibiotics, and coagulation enhancers directly into the bloodstream." Jake tied off the first suture and moved to the next bleeding vessel. His movements were automatic, trained by years of practice. Find the bleeder, clamp it, stitch it closed. Move to the next one. He had done this procedure so many times he could do it with his eyes closed. "How long until your equipment is ready?" Captain Thompson asked. "Perhaps another hour," Crinmoth said, still focused on his displays. "The bioregeneration chamber must be perfectly calibrated or it could cause cellular mutation." Jake finished closing the second vessel and moved to the third. The pool of blue liquid on the floor had stopped growing. Commander Vextal's color was getting better. His breathing was becoming stronger. The unnamed alien doctor suddenly stopped talking and looked down. "Wait, the bleeding has stopped. How is that possible?" All the aliens turned to look at their commander. Jake was just finishing the last suture, tying it off with practiced ease. Commander Vextal's wounds were closed with neat lines of black thread. The bleeding had completely stopped. "What did you do?" Crinmoth asked in shock. Jake put his needle away and cleaned his hands. "I sewed him up. Basic surgery. We call them stitches. The aliens stared at the simple black threads holding their commander's skin together. Their advanced displays showed that his vital signs were stabilizing. His biofluid levels had stopped dropping. His heart was beating strongly again. Impossible, the unnamed alien whispered. You used primitive tools. No sterilization field, no molecular bonding, just thread. Sometimes simple works better than complicated, Jake said. Commander Vextal's eyes opened slowly. The first thing he saw was Dr. Jake Martinez sitting beside him, checking his pulse the old-fashioned way with 2 fingers on the wrist. The alien commander tried to sit up, but Jake gently pushed him back. Down. Easy there, Jake said. You lost a lot of blood. Well, biofluid, whatever you call it. Vextal looked down at his chest. Black threads crisscrossed his blue skin in neat lines. He touched one of the stitches carefully. What is this? Suturies, Jake explained. We sew wounds closed. It's been around for thousands of years. Crinmoth was scanning his commander with a handheld device. The readings made him shake his head in disbelief. Impossible. Your vital signs are better than they were before the accident. The tissue around the sutures is healing perfectly. The unnamed alien doctor was running more tests. His equipment beeped and flashed with numbers that seemed to surprise him. There is no infection, no cellular damage. The biofluid loss has completely stopped. Captain Thompson and her crew watched the aliens work. Communications specialist Tony Rivera was recording everything with his tablet. This was history being made, and he wanted to make sure they got it all down. How long would your procedure have taken? Jake asked Crinmoth. 6 hours minimum, the alien doctor replied. Maybe 7 if we encountered complications. The bioregeneration chamber rebuilds tissue at the molecular level. Every cell must be perfectly reconstructed. Jake looked at his watch. I did this in 12 minutes. The silence in the cargo bay was heavy. The aliens stared at Jake like he had just performed magic. Their advanced medical technology sat unused, still flashing error messages and beeping with system failures. But how? The unnamed alien asked. Your tools are so primitive. No computers, no molecular scanners, no bioenhancement fields. Sometimes, primitive works, Jake said. He opened his medical bag and showed them the contents. Needle, thread, scissors. Humans have been using these tools for centuries. They're reliable. They don't break down. They don't need power or calibration. Engineer Ryan Clark stepped forward. It's like the difference between a fancy computer and a hammer. The computer can do amazing things, but when you need to hit a nail, sometimes a hammer is better. Crinmoth was studying the stitches more closely. The technique is elegant in its simplicity. You identified the damaged vessels, stopped the bleeding, and closed the wounds. Direct. Efficient. That's trauma surgery, Jake explained. When someone is dying, you don't have time for complicated procedures. You do what works fast. Commander Vextal was getting stronger by the minute. He sat up slowly, testing his movement. The stitches held perfectly. Where did you learn this technique? Jake thought about all the emergency rooms, the battlefield, hospitals, the late-night calls. Experience. Human doctors have been dealing with injuries for as long as there have been humans. We learned to fix problems quickly because we had to. Your species evolved differently than ours, Crinmoth said thoughtfully. We developed in a controlled environment. Our homeworld has no dangerous animals, no natural disasters, no wars. When we encountered medical problems, we had time to develop complex solutions. But humans, the unnamed alien added, you evolved in chaos. Predators, diseases, conflicts. You needed immediate solutions to survive. Captain Thompson nodded. That's right. Earth wasn't safe. We had to adapt or die. Navigator Helen Garcia was listening to everything with fascination. So you developed advanced technology because you had time to perfect it, but we developed practical skills because we needed them right away. Exactly, Vextal said. He stood up carefully, testing his balance. The stitches held strong. Your medicine is based on necessity, Ours is based on perfection. Security officer, Katie Sullivan spoke up. But what happens when perfect technology fails? Everyone looked at the alien medical equipment, still flashing errors and beeping complaints. The bioregeneration chamber hummed but would not activate. The molecular reconstructor had given up entirely and shut down. Then people die, Jake said quietly, unless someone knows how to fix problems without computers. Crinmoth was running more scans on Commander Vextal. The healing process is remarkable. The sutures are allowing natural tissue regeneration while maintaining structural integrity. It's so simple, yet so effective. Can you teach us? The unnamed alien asked suddenly. These techniques. Could you show our medical teams how to do this? Jake was surprised by the question. You want to learn human medicine? Yes, Vextal said firmly. Today I would have died waiting for our equipment to work properly. Your simple thread saved my life. Communications specialist Tony Rivera looked up from his tablet. This could change everything. Humans and aliens sharing medical knowledge. Think about it, pilot Danny Wright said from the doorway. Your advanced technology combined with our practical techniques. We could help each other. Crinmoth was already making notes on his tablet. We could establish exchange programs. Your doctors could learn our bioregeneration methods. Our doctors could learn your emergency procedures. It makes sense, Captain Thompson said. Different approaches to the same problems. Together, we might be better than either of us alone. Commander Vextal walked over to Jake and extended his hand in the human gesture of greeting. Dr. Martinez, I owe you my life. But more than that, you have shown us something important. What's that? Jake asked, shaking the alien's hand. That advancement is not always about complexity. Sometimes the best solution is the simplest one. The alien medical equipment continued to flash and beep in the background, still trying to initialize its complicated systems. Meanwhile, Commander E. Vextal stood healthy and strong, held together by nothing more than thread and human knowledge. Engineer Ryan Clark smiled. You know what this means? We're going to have the first human-alien medical school in history. Jake looked at his simple tools, then at the aliens who wanted to learn from them. Maybe space exploration was not just about finding new worlds. Maybe it was about finding new ways to help each other survive. 3 months later, Dr. Jake Martinez stood in front of a classroom unlike any he had ever seen. The walls were alive, glowing softly with bioluminescent patterns. The seats adjusted themselves to fit both human and alien bodies. Holographic. Displays floated in the air, showing anatomical diagrams of both species. His students were a mix of humans and Zephyrians, 24 beings from 2 different worlds, all eager to learn about medicine. Jake still found it hard to believe that he was teaching on a Zephyrian medical station orbiting their homeworld. Today we're going to talk about emergency field surgery, Jake said, holding up his old leather medical bag. The kind of medicine you practice when everything goes wrong and you only have basic tools. A young Zephyrian named Talreen raised her hand. Professor Martinez, why do we need to learn primitive techniques when we have bioregeneration chambers? Jake smiled. He got this question a lot. Because bioregeneration chambers break down. Computer systems fail. Power goes out. When that happens, you need to know how to save lives with your hands and simple tools. Commander Vextal entered the classroom. The stitches were long gone from his chest, but he still wore the scars like badges of honor. He had insisted on keeping them instead of using Zephyrian technology to remove them completely. Students, Vextal said, let me tell you about the day Dr. Martinez saved my life. Jake had heard this story many times, but he never got tired of it. Vextal told his students about the accident, about the equipment failures, about lying on the floor bleeding while advanced medical technology sat useless. The human doctor used thread, Vextal said, pointing to his scars. Simple thread and a needle. In 12 minutes he accomplished what our technology could not do in 6 hours. A human student named Mike Roberts raised his hand. Commander, have the medical exchange programs been successful? Very successful, Vextal replied. Human doctors are now stationed on 12 Zephyrian medical facilities. Zephyrian doctors work in 15 human hospitals. We are learning from each other. Every day. Jake opened his bag and pulled out his instruments. They looked tiny and primitive compared to the glowing alien medical devices around the room. But every student, human and alien alike, leaned forward to see them. "This is a needle holder," Jake said, demonstrating how it worked. "It grips the needle firmly so you can make precise stitches. This design is over 200 years old. It hasn't changed because it doesn't need to change. It works." Dr. Crinmoth entered the classroom, carrying a floating medical kit. He had become Jake's co-teacher and close friend over the past months. "And this," he said, gesturing to his advanced equipment, "is a molecular tissue welder. It can bond flesh at the cellular level, but it requires 17 minutes of setup, time and perfect conditions. Which is why we teach both," Jake said. "Use the best tool for the situation. Sometimes that's advanced technology. Sometimes it's a needle and thread." A Zephyrian student named Vertok spoke up. "Professor, my cousin works on the joint medical ship Harmony. She says human and Zephyrian techniques together save more lives than either approach alone." Jake nodded. "That's exactly right. Your bioregeneration technology can do things we never dreamed of. But our field medicine can save lives when there's no time for setup or when technology fails." Captain Lisa Thompson appeared on the classroom's communication screen. She was calling from the Horizon's Edge, which was now part of a joint human-Zephyrian exploration fleet. "Sorry to interrupt, Doctor," Thompson said, "but we have a situation. Mining accident on asteroid 77 Beta. Multiple casualties. Both human and Zephyrian miners are injured." Jake and Crinmoth looked at each other. "How long until we can get there?" Jake asked. 4 hours by fast shuttle," Thompson replied. "We're on our way," Jake said. He turned to his students. "This is why we train. Real emergencies don't wait for perfect conditions." The students watched as Jake packed his simple medical bag while Crinmoth loaded his advanced equipment onto a floating platform. 2 different approaches to medicine, working together. On the shuttle ride to the asteroid, Jake and Crinmoth discussed their strategy. The mining station had basic medical facilities, but nothing advanced. They would have to work with whatever was available. "Like old times," Crinmoth said in his musical voice. "Remember when you taught me to suture? I thought it was barbaric." Jake laughed. "And you taught me about biofluid chemistry. I thought it was impossible." When they reached the mining station, they found chaos. The explosion had injured 12 people, 6 humans and 6 Zephyrians. The station's medical bay was overwhelmed. Jake and Crinmoth worked side by side. Jake used his battlefield experience to triage the wounded, deciding who needed help first. Crinmoth used his scanners to identify internal injuries that weren't visible from the outside. They saved everyone. Afterward, as they rode back to the medical station, Jake reflected on how much had changed. 3 months ago, he was just a ship's doctor on an old exploration vessel. Now he was part of something bigger. Humans and Zephyrians working together, sharing knowledge, making each other stronger. "Dr. Martinez," Crinmoth said quietly, "do you ever regret leaving Earth? Giving up your old life to teach here?" Jake thought about it. He missed Earth sometimes. But he looked at his alien friend, thought about his students learning from each other, remembered all the lives they had, saved together. "No," Jake said finally. "This is exactly where I'm supposed to be." The shuttle docked at the medical station. Through the viewport, Jake could see human and Zephyrian ships working together in space. The joint fleet was getting ready for another exploration mission to unknown regions of the galaxy. Whatever they found out there, whatever dangers they faced, they would face them together. With the best of both species' knowledge and the wisdom to know that different approaches could make them all stronger. Jake picked up his old leather medical bag and headed back to his classroom. His students were waiting, eager to learn more about the simple techniques that could save lives when everything else failed. The future of medicine, Jake realized, wasn't about choosing between simple and advanced. It was about knowing when to use each one. And that was exactly what he planned to teach.